Hello, our friends, Evolutionary Energy Arts family.
Hello there, welcome back.
Hope everybody is doing well.
Indeed we do.
Double checking, we're looking good there. Other things are looking good as well. And, we'll try to give you guys this take on the situation out there from a totally unbiased point of view. Not that I'm saying I'm prejudiced, and there's certain beings out there I don't necessarily enjoy their company or their rule. And, we're maybe talking about some groups that start with an I and end with an I, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Or we could fill in the missing vowels. C blank, E blank, L. And we could go on and on. But we see Arizona is suing the regime of number 46 over the VM.
I like that. I would call that the VM. That's our new word, you guys, our new code word.
Yes. And, maybe we won't have to use code words as long as we thought we were going to have to. We got some pretty solid, good, positive info coming from the GFED. And GFED is another one maybe we'll just stick with. GALACTIC. Fed. I always put my little asterisk thing there.
He's really cute. He does that in the air, you guys. It's super cute.
She does a lot of things with her hands in the air, too. She does. She makes a lot of demonstrative movements, as I was just acting like a conductor there. So, you see Arizona. We jump over here. We see the Texas Attorney General. I'm suing very soon. Strong words coming through. We need strong words. We need to come together. It's the bottom line. And stop being so divided. And again, I go back to that Tower of Babel. What gave you a clue that there was something that was wrong with that whole piece from the book of Genesis? For me, it was when it was stated, hey, look, mankind's united. Okay, isn't that good? Well, they must be doing something horribly evil. What are they doing? They're building a tower unto the heavens. They're going to act like one of us. They're united. They're not fighting. They're actually working together. Well, you would think that's actually a good thing.
Well, that's exactly what made me stop and think, too. I couldn't understand what their sin was. I was just, I guess, going along to get along at the time when I was in Bible study, and just because everybody wants to fit in, so I questioned it, but I didn't question it.
Yeah, so their sin was they were getting along, which is not a sin against the creator of the multiverse, but it might be a sin against the older tales that we have that talk about these Anunnaki beings that view themselves as the slave masters of humanity. And quite directly, we need to look at that and look at the revolt again by those that were called the Gigi. They revolted against the Anunnaki, saying, we're not doing this anymore. We're not going to do your dirty work. No more. You're going to have to get somebody else. And so, supposedly, they created humanity. Of course, they didn't really create humanity. They play with DNA, just like they're doing right now. And, they'll claim that they created what comes next because they were the inspiration for the alterations that are going on now. And, they got a patent number on it, I'm sure, somewhere. There's lawsuits, filed, so that, they think they own us, literally, but they don't because, we have source within us. The other thing, too, is look to the book of Revelation closer. People will just grab the little things like no buying or selling without the mark. But then again, cattle gets marks. And when you go to Revelation 22, everybody gets a mark. Everybody. So it's like everybody belongs to somebody. And, many will not perceive anything wrong with this. But in reality, we're all on our own unique individual journey. That's the way it's supposed to be. With free will. Free will. I do believe Source created all of us with free will. It's up to us to decide what we do with it. But yes, of course, there are beings that try to subvert that. And they try to give you get you to give your power away. I remember that it always kind of chilled me, and I never liked to say that prayer. Now I lay me down to sleep, right? I pray the what?
Mm-hmm.
My what to keep? Because when you start looking at that word has so many different possibilities. And when most people die and are trapped in this 3-4D loop, who are you really sending yourself off to? Think about that.
Really creepy. It does. It's very much like a spell, and you're buying right into it. And happy to do so.
Yes. But we're waking up, and that's the good news. And yeah, we still get people that are so brainwashed, so indoctrinated that they'll still say to us, we'll get little comments like, don't you think maybe you could be wrong? Well, anybody could be wrong. That's true. But no, when you know something, when you know something, you know it. And I'm talking about, with the G as in gnosis, something that's experiential. And it's always hit me as wrong. Some of the things that are in the fundamentalist, traditionalist point of view, some things just have never made any sense. And then you'll get people say, well, you got to have the Holy Spirit in you. But no, you got to be brainwashed, is what it is. Plain and simple. You have to, let the indoctrination set in, the fear-based mentality, to the point where it controls everything about you, and you can't let it go. But see, this is our graduation. This is our test. Our test is, first, we have to shed the rulership ourselves. This is our problem. It's ours to overcome. And this is why we're here. Because we have to do exactly what is starting to happen. As we see, more than half the U.S. states vow to fight 46's VM. 27. We'll use the word. Republican governors or AGs, attorney generals, have vowed to fight the latest executive order issued by 46. Wonderful. Wonderful. Corona. Look at that's a corona, guys.
Mm-hmm.
Crown. Corona. Crown. Regis. King. Yeah. Yeah, there's a lot going on here. And I love this statement here. Governor Doug Ducey said of Arizona, governors don't report to JB. Governors don't report to the federal government. The states created the federal government. And 46 overstepped his reach. The mandates are outrageous. He'll never stand up in court. Unless it's a stacked court. Unless it's like walking into a Vegas casino, which is exactly what is being banked on, perhaps, by certain powers that have been, but inevitably they won't be at some point in time. And we can manifest that change quicker than later. And, happily what we just got from the G-Fed is kind of things are progressing maybe a little bit better than expected, and that's why all this is going down. San Diego could lose half its police force from the VM. 45% are a hard no and willing to be fired. Willing to put up with a little bit of distress, a little bit of tougher times. We've been in contact with some of our friends that are in the medical field, and one of them today was saying, I think I'm just going to let go of my licensure. I'm just going to say, screw it. I'm going to let go. I'm going to do something else. And this is what's happening. As they keep pushing, you get to a point where it's like you're walking a plank. And at some point, you're going to have to risk, the swords that are prodding you at one end so that you don't get eaten by the sharks at the other. This was interesting too. This is Sir Redshield there. And at the very end of this, he's talking about
the focus distraction. Well, more than a distraction, it's a tragedy, but it's a distraction. Well, more than a distraction. And it's a distraction. Well, more than a distraction, it's a tragedy, but it does have that knock-on.
So, and what's he talking about? He's talking about the whole plague upon the land. Ultimately, yeah. Everything is really a distraction to get us away from realizing we're coming into our own power. We need to shed the petty dictatorships that we see all over this place. Talk about petty dictatorships. Every time I look at certain people, I don't know why, I feel like I'm looking back into Germany in the 1940s and 1930s. You just got to change the clothing, but it almost feels like it's the same beings that are incarnating this time around, doesn't it? We got to just say no. We got to, again, get out of the system. Easier said than done, right? Well, do whatever you can to get out of the system as much as you can. Mm-hmm. That is most definitely something we should all be doing. And, this is over in Australia. And basically, what's he talking about? Well, if you haven't gotten a certain thing, you know what? You got no rights, basically. You can't go shopping. You can't go doing anything. You can't enjoy yourself. It's like every day of your life is going to be a nonstop spanking. Who the bleep do they think that they are? And why are we even listening? And this is a senator over here putting a good question. This senator, Senator James Risch, is demanding to know who's cutting off number 46's mic. We need to know who's really in charge, because it's pretty obvious when he can't follow his own Secret Service lead to step to your right, sir, and he goes straight into the bushes and is lost and mumbling to himself. Sometimes he goes off on tangents and nobody knows what the heck he's talking about.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, he's just not right on so many different levels, and to the point it's comical. And yeah, sure, it's some comical relief, but really when you sit and look at it like on a stone cold sober type of level, there's some serious issues. There's some serious issues to somebody in his level, and no, he's definitely not in charge of himself.
No, I don't think he could manage his own defense. No. Honestly, and you got to wonder if the original has dementia and everything, will all the succeeding clones have dementia?
Oh yeah,
because what we have gotten is that there's more of him out there than there is HRC, mm-hmm. and there was 6 of her last count. Mm-hmm. Frightening shortfall of 50,000 doctors for the UK's NHS this winter. Health staff have quit because people are overstressed, overburdened. They have too much work they can't handle, and they're basically having their arms twisted to the point of no return. And this is happening to a greater extent than we're able to even find on the world news, because so much of this is not being fully covered. It's trying to be avoided. And here you have a U.S. lieutenant colonel resigning over the VM and warning of a Marxist takeover of the military as he refuses, you know what, and he's giving up his pension after 19 years of service. Yeah, making a stand. When you really, really believe in something, even though it's going to hurt. Now, did that hurt? Go the full 20, he would have been in better shape. He's making a stand. Good for him. Good for him. Bravo. We should all applaud him because he's taking that stand. He's not going to be pushed.
No, he's not. So that's a good thing. Happy to see that.
And so, yeah, they say that overwhelmingly the California governor has avoided a recall. But, there's things that are always curious and interesting. As, I thought, doesn't 52 come after 49? Well, when you're counting numbers, they tend to increase. So what happened there?
Mm-hmm.
Well, I guess, we're not really allowed to question anything, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, supposedly, everything is on the up and up. Yeah, sure. It's to the point where you gotta wonder why people are even, again, if we want to get out of the system, then does it make sense to participate that way? Most of us, we're going to play all night long unless, we have somebody that's dealing cards for the house on the other side in that casino that's kind of giving us a nod and a wink to letting us know when we should stand or when we should fold. We're not going to usually win against a rigged system that you find in these casinos, if you know what I mean. So for the next Plague Upon the Land, we're going to have a gigantic certain technology factory in India. And again, we're talking about, well, we have GMO foods, right? Yeah, well, now a big chunk of the population is G period, M period, G period, M period, O.
Mm-hmm.
A big chunk of the population is. Why would we want that when Source, the true God with the big G, is taking us out of this dark era of time and bringing us, back up to full ability, which will take a while. It takes a while, but at the same time, our abilities are increasing tremendously. So, I was thinking about one person today, and for some reason I thought, I wonder how Rich is doing, and I wonder if he's heading back to a certain state. And literally, I just talked to Cindy for a second, and then I looked, and he had messaged me. This is what our future is going to be like. When you want to get a hold of a friend, your sister, your brother, family member, all you have to do is think about them, and they'll know you're thinking about them. We're heading to the point where we're all going to have amazing abilities: clairvoyance, telepathy, and healing. The ability to heal just with thought, just with intention, which is growing in the energy workers, the light workers, the star seeds, people that are Reiki masters, Qigong masters, pranic healers, all different modalities. I was kind of surprised over the years, going to different seminars and stuff, and seeing certain doctors share with me that they used their intuition a lot more than most people would let on when working on people. And that's what we're going to be doing, is we're going to be listening to that inner voice. because often the inner voice are guides. They are guides on the other side, on other densities. Beings that you might call angels or spirit guides, ascended masters, all different types of beings. Some could be your ancestors. Some could be down through different DNA lineages. And it's just, for Cindy and I, it's not like conjecture, it's a fact, because we know, because we have so many interactions. But we both had interactions all our life with our guides, and many of you have.
Mm-hmm.
I would say the vast majority that reach out to have sessions with us, I think the vast majority are Starseeds light workers, which, make up a big percentage of the population, not the majority, but the vast majority of the people that are awake, for sure. And, a big percentage of them have been like us. We're always knew your guides were there. Yeah. Sometimes, maybe you can't always reach them as well as you would like. And they reach all of us in different ways. Like I would all of a sudden feel drowsy. So when I recognized that, I would just lie down, let my mind kind of go blank, and then I would get these visions that would roll in. First thing I would do is, instead of being in a dark room and I'm seeing dark, I'm starting to see light patterns and waves coming in. That's the guides. And then the next thing is, all of a sudden I'm looking at scenes and pictures, and this is how they showed me different timelines. This is how I started to get these visions of, one of the timelines that we have been on, which ultimately leads to a Red Dawn scenario. But one of the good, well, it's always a double-edged sword. We are waking up faster than they anticipated. Our abilities are growing faster as well, and we're starting to speak up more. That makes them a little bit more dangerous too, because if they feel that they can't control us effectively, then they'll keep raising the stakes. So we do have to keep that in mind, but we have to keep pushing back everywhere we can.
Super important. We're at a time in evolution where, it can be a little nerve-wracking, because in any bad relationship, when they start losing control over the situation, that's when they start getting desperate. So this is where we really just need to hold ourselves together and kind of, sometimes you just got to muscle through stuff, and we might be upon one of those times.
So this was a tweet that came out, and I didn't see anything more on this. Maybe you guys have. But police in central London say they are on a high terror alert. And there's some interesting comments down there, as you see that comment by Sage and Onion.
Yep.
There's a lot of people waking up in droves right now. And maybe being a little facetious, which is good because we need some comic relief.
We love it. Yes.
We absolutely do. By the way, Australia, the US, and the UK are going to announce a landmark new defense pact, which looks like it's aimed at the fine dining ware country, or basically holding off the progress of the fine dining ware country. Yet many of us have come to be awakened to the fact of that Trojan horse that's going on. And that Trojan horse most definitely exists in these three countries. So it's a defense pact that maybe in UCLEAR in nature, but that is something that we have gotten direct assurances from the GFED that they will not let a major conflagration pass. And again, I think I questioned, well, I knew right away when I saw 45 come in and put into effect laws that would get them out of ballistic missile treaties that had a limitation on how small they could be. Small. That's key, because you would be thinking, bigger, like Tsar bombas are gigantic. They're hundreds of, if not thousands of Hiroshimas. So like one Tsar bomba, which was one that the Soviet Union made, all of Manhattan would be gone with just one of those completely. Probably most of all of NYC, just one of those. It would be like absolutely nothing left. Why limits on how low you can go? Well, there's, again, galactic treaties. One of them is expiring in 2025, and that's why we have all these dates. How would most of us on Earth know that there's a galactic treaty that expires in 2025, and that's why they're racing to accomplish certain things by 2025?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's just so much information that we don't really know, but we're learning and we're piecing it together as we are awakening. So it's all a very, very beautiful thing. You know, it's like an orchestra that's starting to come together for us. And we've worked really hard as star seeds and light workers to get where we're at. And we still have a ways to go. But the good news is we're making some headway.
As you see, the Taliban, their luck just keeps getting better and better, isn't it? They discover a cache of Soviet-made ballistic missiles now in Panjshir Valley. They say these are inoperable, but you add that to the cache of weaponry that the U.S. left around for billions of dollars. So what are we saying now? Is this all really just about putting into the mind that there's going to be certain terrorist entities that are going to have all sorts of weaponry that could cause all sorts of chaos in all sorts of places, creating that expectancy, again, sowing the seeds that have been sown in prophecy.
Mm-hmm.
And then we see about another general. This is a lot going on here, and again, a lot of what you're getting is not necessarily all about the actual event, but just, again, laying groundwork in your mind, in everybody's minds. And you're talking about chain of command and, well, overthrowing certain powers. Are we talking about coups? Are we talking about civil or revolutionary events? All these things are part of the play. And, of course, they use the treasonous word. And, most definitely, boy, we have a lot going on that is treasonous to humans on Earth, treasonous to just humanity. This needs to be recognized, not treasonous to the powers that be, the elite of the elite. That's really what you're talking about when you're talking about these power structures. We need to start talking about acts that are going on that are treasonous to humanity and then all the life on the planet in general, as there's no respect from these powers that be at all when it comes to other forms of life on the planet. And people will, again, use their religious philosophy to justify that. They'll say, well, we were given dominion to use them as we like, consume them as we like, do whatever we want to them. I mean, God told us it's okay.
Mm-hmm.
But was that the creator of everything? Or are we really talking about the EGG Anunnaki, quote-unquote gods that are, again, not gods at all? As, it's always been about extraterrestrials and interdimensionals. The power structure wants you to think there's no life out there. Doesn't mean they can't get you all riled up about an alien invasion. That's not what it really is, because the aliens that we need to worry about are the ones that have been here the whole time.
Mm-hmm. It's super important to learn our discernment right now. Very important to practice that on whatever level you know how to practice it so that you are getting the information that's true to your soul.
Exactly. We had one of our family members talk about discernment and question Cindy and I, saying, are you really sure you're able to discern? Yes. And just, what comes to mind is Krishna talking to Arjuna. The difference is that we remember our past lives. And that's what Krishna said to Arjuna. The difference between you and I is I remember my past lives. I know these things, as in know, as in gnosis with a G. There's a big difference. And there's quite a few people out there that can remember glimpses, at least, of past lives. And, have knowledge of quite a few, and Cindy actually, she's seen what amounts to hundreds now.
Well,
So,
yeah.
I mean, plus, I mean, all the going deep develops discernment. But, again, we're able to do what most people in the system are not able to do, which is to dedicate hours on a daily basis to going within, to doing Qigong, mantras, still meditation, yoga, things like this that develop the discernment.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's something that we do. We keep that prioritized so that we can reach certain levels of consciousness. Like when we are working on people, we're very, very energetically hygienic. I don't know, that's not the right word, but we're very hygienic when it comes to keeping our energy bodies clean, keeping our souls quieted so that we know when we are contacting somebody, you can feel it in the room. When I'm fixing to channel, Mike can feel it, and I start to channel.
And I could actually see them. They appear to me as energy patterns, and they're different colors. So I'm seeing their color, which is their frequency, so I know what their vibration is. I know what their vibration is. I feel them. So, well, the fact that my Kundalini's been active for a long time, I know. And this is what they don't want. If your Kundalini is active, you can't hide the frequency of an entity. Thus, when I look at 46, I see a shell. And this shell is totally under the control of other entities which are not nice. When I look at these other people, like Dr. Sicklemaker, remember F-A-U-C-I there, I could see his energy. Cindy can too. We see right through them. So when somebody's talking and it's obvious that they're just coming from a fundamentalist point of view, they're controlled. They have no discernment. They only know what they've been talked to about, and they have adopted the beliefs of a certain mindset, which is nothing about experience. It's not because you have now the abilities that will enable you to know the frequency of the entities you're talking to. You're just basically indoctrinated into a system, and so that's your mindset. But then again, when we get down to it, 2/3, 70% of the souls on this planet are basically what we would term young souls. They don't know any better because this is the only place they've incarnated, and they haven't come down from the higher densities. They've only known 3 and 4D. And we've gotten so much more information, and knowing about our past lives, and many of you out there are getting the same downloads. You're getting this knowing. And so they can't pull the wool over on your eyes. It's just not going to happen. You just know.
Right. You just know, and it's no longer it's no longer about what you've read in a book. That completely changes. The book is the book, and maybe it has some golden nuggets of information in there. But when you have the knowing, I don't know, it's just a whole nother world.
Yeah, when we asked Yeshua, channeling Yeshua about the book of Revelation, he was like, well, you guys know more about it than I do.
Yeah.
I don't read that stuff.
Yeah.
And he didn't dictate that stuff. Again, there are some nuggets. And when we go to the book of Revelation, and it talks about the man of perdition, the man of destruction, when you see basically man saying that God is in him, or I am a God, think back to all the issues. When you look to the Anunnaki stories, and they're going to try to give the Enkyites, make them look like good cops, basically, as part of one of the timeline plans that they have played. Good cop, bad cop, Enlil and Enkyites, Enlilites and Enkyites, we should say, as both of them are basically, they're retired.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
They're not in power anymore. But they will make one faction to look like it's the benevolent one that's going to take care of humanity and embrace us into the fold. But get us ready to fight the evil ones that are coming, which they know at some point in time we're going to have interaction with the real Galactic Federation and other beings that they're going to try to get us to fight. This is part of one of the last deceptions that's going on. And again, people will look to even Werner von Braun, who was a Nazi scientist that actually became the head of NASA at one point in time. And on his deathbed, he talked about, well, they're going to have all these different boogeymen that they're going to roll out. First it will be Russia and the red threat, and then, go on down the line, become terrorism in general. And then they're going to roll out asteroids and stuff coming in. We're going to have to take out these asteroids. They're coming to kill us and destroy all humanity. And then the last thing will be alien invasion. Again, recognize the source. Do you think this? Would you trust a Nazi? Would you trust him? And if he worked inside the power that be structure all his life, this is a deathbed confession. Would you believe it? Or is this just another story given to us by the same powers that be that infiltrate every aspect of our life to try to circumvent people from understanding what the real truth is? Because they know there's going to be people out there that are going to understand, yes, there are ETs. I've had encounters. I've seen, ships, et cetera, et cetera. There's no way you're going to convince certain people that there's not ETs. So you got to admit there is. But again, you could distort it and twist it so you could use it to your advantage. This is what they've done at every turn. There's all different levels of wokeness. And, we still see the left-right dichotomy going on in so many different places. And at some point, you wake up and realize, well, the real puppet masters are controlling both parties even. So they know that there are people that will understand to that level and get to that level of being awake. There's all these different levels. So they have all these different mitigation plans in effect. And when we look to here, and this is General Mark Miley.
As you alluded to in the previous question, China's not an enemy.
So he's saying that the fine dining ware country is not an enemy. They use countries to create this never-ending war. So if we wake up really fast and their plans are not going well, that's when they'll pull out another war. Mm-hmm. This is what they do. And yeah, are they getting ready to put China in the driver's seat to be the poster boy, for the OWN, right? If you put it up to the mirror, right? Mm-hmm. Most definitely they are. But that doesn't mean also that there won't be a war, because we've had 2 world wars. And they've had the plans for a third for a very, very long time. It's just what they do. And they've done this whole cycle many times. So we're back to basically hiding information here. As we see, they're only showing 3 carrier groups there, really. They have the Ronald Reagan and the Iwo Jima there together. And we've seen a lot of activity off of the Australian coastline. And, there's been actually even people questioning, with the LOCK down going on so much to such a high degree, you got to wonder, is there troops there from the fine dining ware country? What's really going on in place? Also have heard that there could be a ton of American and NATO troops there as well, because they expect something to happen with the fine dining ware. But if we look carefully to that 2005 speech, the fine dining ware country is banking on something that's covert and that can be spread in many different ways, through the air, also through fluids, to take care of a large portion before they do anything militarily. So, it could very well be that there might be a Red Dawn scenario that would be either concurrent, U.S. and Australia and other places, only when they're ready to really roll, when those dog numbers, the beagle numbers, just replace that B with a D, mm-hmm. are close to being an actuality, then they'd probably roll.
Right. Yeah. It's just one of those things that you got to kind of watch and wait.
And we see magma intrusion, Cumbre Vieja, La Palma. This is something to keep watching there. I found where there was, and I only saw articles that were in Spanish. They were actually looking into evacuation plans as well. And of course, we've gotten that this is again being a little artificial flavoring going on.
Yep.
This could be, a mega event if it does happen. So again, let's put our intention there that this artificial flavoring doesn't work.
Mm-hmm.
And again, everybody just always be prepared for anything. And if you're living on a coastline, be prepared to evacuate if you have to.
Have a plan to get up high somewhere.
2,570 homes damaged or destroyed by floods in Indonesia. Heavy rains there. Again, 500,000 people at risk due to flooding after a dam overflows in Colombia. So rain everywhere. And our good friend David, Adapt 2030, put out a video, and he starts talking about grand solar minimum. And what do they got? They got a Wikipedia about climate change there. So again, whenever you see that, like if you're talking about the Anunnaki, the Gigi, and you get this little Wikipedia about the Anunnaki gods, you hit it.
Mm-hmm.
It almost surprises me that AI is that stupid.
I know, me too. It's just something that you gotta wonder about that, because it's like a flag saying, this is true. We just don't want you to look any further. Nothing to see here.
Yeah, right. You don't want to look any further here. Just trust us.
Here's all the official information you'll ever need.
It's nothing. Go back to sleep. Astronomers recall a small asteroid impacting Jupiter. Quite a few people have been buzzing about this. A bright fireball, most likely a small asteroid or comet, struck Jupiter at 22:39 UTC on the 13th. The impact was seen and captured by astronomers all across the world. So interesting. And of course, there are many out there, again, that are waiting to see Nibiru. And, my daughter at age 8, and she just recently turned 33, she had a horrible dream about Nibiru that she saw in the sky, and she didn't know what that was at the time, giant red planet. And that's kind of what she had seen. What we have gotten is that Nibiru is a 4th density planet. It really is here. There are other planets in our solar system that are 4th density planets. As we go up in density, very, very likely at some point in time, we're going to actually be able to feel and see their effects. But what we've gotten from the galactics is that Nibiru is not going to come so close that it creates destruction and havoc with the Earth. Again, they would not allow that. And Nibiru can be steered and nudged to a degree, as it is really more of a ship than it is a planet at this point. Even though it does have a soul, and that soul is on, it's basically on life, what would you call it?
Life support.
Life support at this point. Mm-hmm. And believe it or not, it is a feminine soul, which was surprising.
Yeah, that was surprising and sad too.
The woolly mammoth will be back in 6 years as a new startup in partnership with Harvard University. They're going to bring back woolly mammoths, and the name of the company is Colossal. It's a Texas-based startup. They want to bring them back from the past, and I don't doubt that can happen. And even bring it and put it to the Arctic tundra to reestablish it.
Wow.
Which is pretty damn cool. And that gets me thinking about, like, when we look to Mother Shipton, and after the times of trial and it's all done, there's going to be new lands that rise, and then silver ships are going to come with all these beings, strange humanoid beings and bizarre looking beings that are going to teach us how to live properly in proper harmony with the Earth, and how to utilize technology in a way that's not intrusive to the planet, not destructive to the planet. I wouldn't be surprised if there's all sorts of things brought back from the past, as well as new things that we had never even thought of before.
Oh, right. Yeah, this is going to open some pretty curious doors. I'm going to keep an eye on this one.
Most definitely. And, there's a lot more that we want to share with you guys. But I wanted to finish on this. If you really look at, the powers of a presidency, it was limited. So, the U.S. Constitution gives the president remarkably limited power. Basically, his constitutional job is largely to carry out the policies of Congress. The presidency of the United States is constitutionally not a policy-making position. It's more that he has to carry out the mandates of Congress, which Congress is thought to be the voice of the people. And right away, I think about people like Pelosi and Schumer and Lindsey Graham that have been there for, it seems like, forever. When were they never there? They've been there forever. There should be really term limits on senators. There should be term limits everywhere. Mm-hmm. To such a point where, you're in for maybe 4 years and you're out forever. You're never coming back. It just, there's too much of this distortion that's happened, because what we have now is not even close to what was originally put into effect.
Oh, I know. It's ridiculous, to have people there for an entire lifetime, and then they hire their entire families and they just have all themselves in this conglomerate, and there's no breaking it open. There's no fairness. Then everything just becomes a favor for someone else in this conglomerate, and things are no longer really being done for the person outside of that.
Exactly. And, originally the states had the power, and the union of the states was just to prevent anything like, another 1812, having any sort of power come over and try to take us over. It was a union of mutual self-defense and mutual benefit, making it easier to trade and things like that. Not what we have now. Not what's turning into a dictatorship that actually comes from a source that you don't even see. And that's the bottom line. So, yeah, there was a good comment, too, because we were talking about executive orders, and somebody said, yeah, we should have every executive order rescinded. That would be a good place to start. There's a lot of places we can start, mm-hmm. But we are starting because people are standing up and just saying, we do not consent.
Right. We love it. I'm proud of you guys.
Yes, most definitely. So do check out Medicinal Foods if you are so inclined. There's a link on every video. Use coupon code EEA for an extra 5% off your order. And then as you fill up your cart at checkout, you get discounts up to 25% off and free shipping. Many, many good products there. All sorts of different stuff. Very healthy. Really can't say anything negative. And I've never seen one single negative comment other than say, something's out of supply. Yeah. Something's sold out. That's the only negative I've ever seen. So really good stuff. Do check them out. It does help support the channel. And we want to, again, thank our Patreons because, in these times of demonization, we couldn't do it without you guys on Patreon, and also those that help through Ko-Fi, where you could do monthly support on Ko-Fi as well as on Patreon. Again, Evolutionary has been demonized for a year and a half now, and they kind of are demonizing this channel too, as even if the views go up, the cash goes down every single time. And it's another way that the powers that be basically spank us.
Yeah, and it makes it very difficult because this is our mission, is to get this word out to you, get you guys this information, and they don't make it easy on you sometimes.
They sure don't. They're going to go clawing and scratching.
Yes.
As always, guys, stay prepared. God bless and namaste.
Namaste.